Why is Europe building the world's longest railway tunnel for over 10 billion euros? Because this single project is about to solve a 50-year traffic nightmare and change the map of European travel and defence. The Brenner Base Tunnel is an epic 64-kilometre record carved beneath the Alps, but its true significance isn't its length. It's the fact that it will cut a 5-hour journey to 2.5 hours, wipe out toxic traffic jams, and is crucial for military mobility across the continent. In this video, we'll uncover how it's being built, why it's taken half a century, and what it means for the future of Europe. Before we dig through the Brenner Base Tunnel, subscribe to Design Zip to keep your journey through global megaprojects on the right track. The Brenner Pass has always been Europe's weak spot. This pass is located between Austria and Italy, and it has been used since Roman times as the main north-south crossing through the Alps. Armies marched on it, merchants depended on it, and today more than 50 million tons of goods pass through every year. But with traffic jams, pollution, and angry locals, it became a problem that could no longer be ignored. By the 1970s, politicians and engineers came up with the idea to build a base tunnel. They decided to skip the steep climb, go straight under the Alps, and create a flat line that would finally make rail transport competitive with trucks. It sounded simple at that time, but this great idea sat in the dream folder for decades. Feasibility studies appeared in the 1980s, dozens of reports were made in the 1990s. Austria and Italy fought over funding and environmental impact, while locals worried about construction noise and groundwater disruption. Still, the problem at the Brenner kept getting worse. Between 1970 and 1999, highway freight across the pass grew sevenfold. It went from 3 million tons to 22 million tons. By the 2000s, almost 3/4 of all traffic over the Brenner was carried by road. There used to be diesel trucks all over the valleys. Rail, which was once the preferred option, had fallen behind. In 2003, Austria and Italy finally signed a treaty. The tunnel would be built, and in 2007, the first real digging began with the exploratory tunnel. It was the third central tube that would eventually serve for drainage and maintenance. But in those early years, it was also the key to understanding what lay beneath. It was hard granite, fractured rock, and endless water layers. In other words, every engineer's nightmare. The next decade came with more treaties, European Union funds and contracts. By 2025, almost 88% of the excavation was complete, with more than 200 kilometers out of 230 already dug. So how do you build a 64-kilometer tunnel under the Alps? With patience, billions of euros, and some of the most advanced machines ever created. The tunnel itself is made up of 2 single-track tubes, each 55 kilometers long. These are spaced 40 to 70 meters apart. There is also an Innsbruck bypass, and after adding it, the full system stretches 64 kilometers, making it the longest underground railway in the world. Safety passages connect the tubes every 333 meters. Multifunction stations inside the mountain allow for emergency operations. In short, this tunnel is a whole underground network. Now, let's look at its scale. More than 21 million cubic meters of rock need to be excavated, 60% of it on the Austrian side. At the deepest point, trains will pass 1,720 meters beneath the surface. Passenger trains will run up to 250 kilometers per hour, freight trains up to 160 kilometers per hour. On the surface, what used to be an exhausting 80-minute journey between Innsbruck and Fortezza will shrink to just 25 minutes. Construction has been broken into 7 main lots. Some are already complete. The Isarco underpass is a delicate section under the river. It was finished in 2023. The Hochstiegen lot, with almost 5 kilometers of tunnel, also wrapped up that same year. The Tulfes Fons section, which was one of the first to start, delivered 43 kilometers of tunnel, including emergency passages, back in 2021. On the Italian side, the Monster Mule's 2 to 3 section was finally finished in 2025. They carved out 65 kilometers of main and service tunnels. The Austrian Sill Gorge project connected the tunnel straight to Innsbruck station in 2024. Meanwhile, two giant boring machines, Wilma and Olga, are chewing northward through the Fons Brenner section. This section is expected to finish in the coming years. And then there are the other huge machines. Ida and Lilia are two tunnel-boring machines pushing relentlessly through Austrian rock. Each TBM costs tens of millions and stretches more than 150 meters long. They dig through the rock and also build, install linings, and stabilize the structure as they go. Without them, progress would crawl at a fraction of today's pace. The price tag of this project is enormous. As of 2025, the bill is over 10.5 billion euros, with Austria and Italy each covering a quarter and the EU pouring in the other half. And of course, there have been some delays. The first target was 2015, then 2025. Now, the date is set for 2032. Critics call it Europe's never-ending tunnel, but even with shifting deadlines, the works have never stopped. Over 88% of the excavation is finished. The final lining and railway systems are next, including electrification at 25 kilovolts, signalling upgrades and safety installations. It hasn't been without sacrifice. Harsh conditions, flooded rocks, and underground accidents have claimed at least 4 workers' lives. Every kilometre won is paid for in risk and resilience. Yet today, when you stand at the portals in Innsbruck or Fortezza, you see entrances to what will soon be the spine of Europe's railway. Once opened, the tunnel is set to become Europe's lifeline. The Brenner Pass is one of the busiest corridors in the EU, and its roads are overwhelmed. 2.5 million trucks and 14 million private vehicles grind through it every year. The noise is constant, the air is toxic, and every small accident triggers a massive jam. Rail was not much of an option either, with inclines of up to 2.6%. Freight needed up to 5 locomotives to cross. It was slow, costly, and uncompetitive. The Brenner Base Tunnel is going to flip the equation. By lowering slopes to just 4 to 7%, trains will haul double the weight at higher speeds. Travel times between major cities collapse. Imagine standing in Innsbruck today. Within a decade, you could step onto a train and be in Verona in just 2.5 hours. That's faster than driving, and even competitive with flying. And the environmental benefits are huge. Shifting freight from road to rail means lower carbon dioxide released into the environment, quieter valleys, and cleaner alpine air. The European Union sees this tunnel as the model of green mobility. Tourism will get a boost, trade will get faster, and residents will finally get relief from constant traffic. But the Brenner Base Tunnel is not great just because it is going to make travel convenient for the EU or is a greener project. It is also great because it is going to strengthen Europe's military. After Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the ability to move troops and equipment quickly across Europe became a top priority. Steep, outdated lines are not good enough for military mobility. A nearly flat, electrified base tunnel will be a game-changer from the military point of view. Austria's defense ministry has claimed that this tunnel will strengthen national defense, speed up deployment in crises, and support relief missions at home and abroad. Politically, it is also a symbol. Austria, Italy, and the European Union are working together, pouring billions into a single corridor. It proves that Europe is serious about building infrastructure that lasts for generations. And don't forget the bigger picture here. The Brenner Base Tunnel is a cornerstone of the Scandinavian Mediterranean TEN-T corridor, which stretches from Helsinki down to Sicily. Once complete, it will lock Germany, Austria, and Italy into a continuous high-speed rail system that will redefine cross-border travel. By 2032, this tunnel won't just cut travel times or shift freight. it will stand as a backbone for Europe in peacetime and in crisis, proof that even a 50-year-old idea can be carved into the future. The Brenner Base Tunnel is more than just the world's longest railway tunnel. It's a 64-kilometre megaproject that will cut travel times, reduce pollution, and even strengthen Europe's transport and defence. Personally, I think despite the setbacks, it's a project Europe couldn't afford not to build. But what do you think? Is it worth the billions and the decades of waiting? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And did you know 9 out of 10 people who watch Design Zip haven't subscribed yet? If you want to see more architectural masterpieces and future infrastructure, hit that subscribe button. Thanks, and see you in the next one.